Hello, Michelle Bullock, LMT here, and I'm going to be doing just a little supplemental video here where we're going to go through some practice test questions in all 7 areas of the MBLEx as laid out by the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards. I wanted to talk about the free resources that I have for you. I have a study guide, and here's a copy of it all printed out, where I go through each of the topics and go into detail about what you need to know for each topic. You can go ahead and print it up, and let's see, that's all anatomy and physiology. Going on to pathology and the massage therapy section. So you can print it out, and then you can just put a check mark next to each topic that you've studied. So that helps quite a bit. And then I have a practice test, and it will pretty much look like this. This is test 2. It'll say test 1 on it. So that's free for you in the description. So it's a 100 question test. So it's multiple choice, just like the MBLEx, but at the very end there's an answer. Yeah. It'll go through and explain the answers, and then there's a topic key at the very end where you can circle all the ones that you got wrong in each topic, so you can find out where you need to spend some more time studying. And then the third free resource that I have for you is a free mini course about how to apply for the MBLEx, the step-by-step how to go through the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards to submit your application, notify your school, what to expect on test day, and some general guidelines on how to study for the exam. I'm going to be going through practice questions from the 10 test bundle that I have for sale. So it's 10 of these, so you can practice 100 questions, set a timer for 110 minutes, and practice that 100 question test so that repetition is in your mind. You know how to manage your time wisely for 100 questions in 110 minutes, so you'll be ready for that exam when you're actually in the proctored site. So we'll go through that in just a second, but first I want to talk about some comments that people have left in the videos that I've posted so far. A lot of them are about people passing the test, and I love to hear that. When you do pass the test, please put it in the comments somewhere that you passed, so that all the rest of the community can cheer for you, and let us know when you do have the test scheduled. That way we can cheer you on. And it's just so great to see people are passing and they're using the resources that I'm posting here to help them along. And another comment that I had that I really appreciated was about how important it is to slow down and read those test questions very carefully. That was a huge issue that I had when I was practicing for the MBLEx when I took it 3 years ago. A huge issue that I had was I knew what the answer was, but I didn't slow down to read the details, and it was oh, that was a stupid mistake, because I just jumped the gun and answered and moved on, and I would have known what that answer was if I just slowed down. So remember that when you're going through your test questions, that slowing down and reading them very carefully, building that habit when you're doing the practice tests, building that habit of slowing down is going to take you a long way toward being able to get the answers correct. Oh, let's go ahead and get started on those questions. So let's see. We're going to start with client assessment. So let's see. Let's read through the question carefully. While documenting a soap chart by hand, you notice that you have made a mistake. What is the correct way to handle this error? Okay, so when we're filling out a soap chart, these are the things that we know that we need to do. We need to fill it out. When we're doing it by hand, we need to do it in ink, right? And we need to write legibly. Printing is preferred. I have a hard time doing that. I still kind of scribble a little bit. But yeah, legible handwriting in ink. And then if you make a mistake, what do? Let's look at our options here. A, erase the mistake completely and rewrite the correct information. If we're writing in ink, we can't erase it, so that can't be the right answer. That's another thing that I like to do, is I like to eliminate the answers that it is not. That's the benefit of multiple choice questions in the MBLEx, is you eliminate the answer that it is not. B, draw a single line through the error, initial it, and write the correct information nearby. C, cover the error with correction fluid and write the correct information over it. I don't like that answer. And D, cross out the entire section of the SOAP note and rewrite it on a new page. No. So B is a correct answer. That way, if you do get audited by the governing board, or if you have to submit your information to like an insurance company, when you put a single line through it, it can still be read, but they can clearly see that it was a mistake that you wrote that. You're not trying to cover anything up, and you put your initials by it to say who it was that put a line through that. So what's really important is that you show that you were not trying to cover up something else. When you scribble it out, which is a habit that I'm still trying to get out of, when you scribble it out, it looks like you're trying to cover something up, and so it could look a little shady. So it's best to leave the mistake you made, so that it clearly shows that you weren't trying to cover something up. It was just a little mistake. So initial it and write the correct answer. Okay, the next one we're going to be working on is the benefits and effects of massage. Which massage technique is most effective at promoting vasodilation in the body? The most effective. Now we're going to be looking for the best choice. Sometimes when you're looking at these options, it can feel like multiples of these could be the correct answer. But what we're looking for is what would be the best choice, what you think the best choice would be. So what technique is the most effective at promoting vasodilation? What is vasodilation? It is where the vascular system is opening up. It's where your blood vessels are opening up. So dilating means opening. So more blood flow, increasing blood flow to the area that you're working on. A, light effleurage, is that the correct answer? B, deep tissue massage. C, friction and heat generating techniques. Or D, tapotement. Now, any of these options can promote vasodilation. But there is one answer in here that is the most specific for vasodilation and most effective. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Light effleurage typically is kind of a warm-up thing where you're trying to relax the body. It's not generally considered the most effective at vasodilation. B, deep tissue massage incorporates a lot of different effects. Relaxation, it breaks up adhesions. It also promotes vasodilation, but it's got a wide umbrella of different effects on the body. Friction and heat generating techniques are very intensive vasodilation because it generates inflammation. Friction and heat generating techniques, right? It heats up and inflames the area that you're working on, which is very great, very good at promoting vasodilation. And the tapotement is typically used more for stimulating, for creating a connection, a neurological connection, and waking up the tissue. It can promote vasodilation, but it's not the most effective. So out of all of these options, I would say C, friction and heat generating techniques, are the most effective at promoting vasodilation. However, friction and heat generating techniques fits under the umbrella of deep tissue massage. I would choose C though, friction and heat generating techniques, if I was taking the MBLEx and that was the question. Moving on to kinesiology. Pain during resistive range of motion testing without joint movement suggests what pathology? Let's read through this question again. Pain during RROM, resistive range of motion testing without joint movement, suggests what pathology? So we're not moving the joint and we're having someone push against some resistance and they're experiencing pain. when you're pushing against something, but you're not moving the joint, where is that pain coming from? It's going to be coming from the muscle. So let's look at our options. A, nerve compression. I don't think it's nerve compression, because if you're having pain, like you could have pain during a resistive range of motion, like say, for example, you feel pain when you're someone's holding your head and you like push back against you resist against the hand on the back of your head and you feel pain, but you also feel it like shooting down your back or shooting up into your head. So if the description of the pain was shooting pain, then I would say nerve compression. But I'm not thinking that it's nerve compression in this case because it's not listed as one of the symptoms. So B, muscle or tendon strain, which I think is the correct answer, but I want to look through all the other options first. C, joint capsule injury, and D, ligament sprain, are both symptoms of an active or assisted range of motion pain because the joint is being moved. So for example, you're trying to figure out a pain that happens during elbow flexion. So active range of motion, they're like, oh, it hurts in my elbow. It hurts right here in my elbow when I do that. So that means it could be something happening in the joint capsule, or it could be a muscle strain, right? But if that joint is not being moved and there's pain, then that means that there is nothing moving in the ligaments. The ligament is not moving and the joint capsule is not moving. Okay, so it's not going to be C or D. It has to be B. All right, let's move on to anatomy and physiology. Which part of the brain is primarily responsible for coordinating voluntary movements and maintaining balance? Now, balance and coordinating voluntary movements might be something that other parts of the brain would be responsible for, but the primary responsibility of this part of the brain is voluntary movements and maintaining balance. So we've got A, cerebrum, we've got B, brainstem, we've got C, cerebellum, and we've got D, hypothalamus. So we know that the cerebrum is going to be handling those higher cognitive functions. So its primary responsibility is not coordinating voluntary movement and maintaining balance. We know the brainstem is the involuntary vital life functions. And the hypothalamus is all about endocrine regulation. So it can't be A, and it can't be B, and it can't be D. It's got to be C, cerebellum, which is all about processing sensory systems and fine-tuning that motor activity. So it's taking information from the cerebellum and fine-tuning it. So pathology, I wrote pathology and such because this section includes pathology and contraindications and special populations. So let's look at this pathology question. Which of the following best describes the difference between endogenous and exogenous pathologies? Endogenous and exogenous pathologies. Mouthful. We want to know the difference between these two. Let's just take these two words apart, and this is where your root words and understanding medical terminology is really helpful. So endo is going to mean inside. Genus means where it comes from. All right. So exo means outside. Endogenous means inside origin. Exogenous means outside origin. And with that information, we can go through these choices that we have written for our multiple choices and pick out the best possible answer. So let's go one by one. A, Endogenous pathologies are caused by external factors like infections or injuries, while exogenous pathologies arise from within the body due to genetic or immune system issues. That can't be it because endo means inside. All right. B. Endogenous pathologies originate from within the body, often due to genetic factors or internal dysfunction, while exogenous pathologies are caused by external factors like infection, environmental exposures, or injuries. That's a good one. C. Endogenous pathologies are always contagious, while exogenous pathologies are not. That's not correct. Endogenous pathologies come from inside the body. Okay. D, endogenous pathologies are related to lifestyle choices, while exogenous pathologies are caused by environmental exposures. I think lifestyle choices and environmental exposures are both exogenous pathologies. So I think the best answer here is B. Endogenous pathologies means it comes from inside the body, which are genetic factors, internal dysfunction, and such. And then exogenous pathologies are caused by infections, injuries, or environmental exposures. Excellent. And then we have ethics. During a session, the therapist notices tightness in the client's glutes and starts working on the area without discussing it first. The client suddenly tenses and asks the therapist to stop. Of course you stop. What boundary has been violated? All right. So we have some choices, and let's look in depth at each one. Informed consent that's which boundary has been violated. That's what we need to know. Informed consent, as the client did not explicitly agree to glute work. I like that one. A, informed consent, especially with a new client that you haven't built a rapport with yet. You need to ask them, are you comfortable with me working on your glutes? These are the reasons that I would like to work on your glutes, and let them decide yes or no. Because it is a sensitive place, it's very important for you to talk to them about it. So informed consent means you've explained why you would like to do that thing, and then ask permission. B, implied consent. Is that a boundary that's been violated? As the therapist assumed permission without clear indication. The therapist did assume permission without clear indication, but it isn't the best possible answer. It isn't a better answer than informed consent as a violation. So they didn't violate implied consent. They just didn't get implied consent. C, what boundary has been violated? Physical boundaries, because the therapist touched an area without asking. That's technically true. But it's not the best answer. The best answer would be informed consent, because that would be the clearest path to behaving professionally and getting access to being able to help that client the best way possible. D, scope of practice, since glute massage requires advanced training, which is not true. You don't need advanced training for glute massage. You just need informed consent. So A, I think A is the best answer, followed by C. You do need to have some kind of informed consent before touching especially a new client's gluteal area, as it can be associated with improper behavior. All right, last question. Guidelines for professional practice. A massage therapist is planning to retire. Yay! And wants to ensure proper handling of client records after closing the business. According to professional guidelines, what is the best approach to manage the client's records? Now, something to keep in mind when you have your own practice and you are keeping your records is that they have to be stored for 7 years. 7 years you're accountable for those records. So with that in mind, here are the options we have. A, shred all records immediately upon closing to maintain confidentiality. Confidentiality is very important. That's a huge part of it. However, shredding all of the records immediately is not the right answer, because you have to hold on to those for 7 years before you shred them from their last appointment. B, transferring records to a colleague without the client being notified is a breach of their confidentiality. Excuse me. That can't be the correct answer. C, inform clients of the business closure and provide options for accessing their records or transferring them to another therapist. That's a proper route to take, is that you would let them know that with their written permission, you can transfer their records to a different therapist. Or if they would like to, they can reach out to you to get their records, or you can reroute them to a secure way of providing them with their records. This is all about HIPAA compliance. D, store records indefinitely in case clients request them in the future. Well, you don't have to store them indefinitely, just 7 years. So, which might feel indefinite, but it actually isn't. 7 years from the last appointment, all right? So that's that. And we're done. We went through a question from all 7 parts of the MBLEx test. And yeah, make sure you get your freebies. Make sure you get your study guide, your practice test, your 100 question practice test. And make sure that if you would like to learn more about how the MBLEx works, make sure and you take that free mini course that I have provided to you. All of this is in the description below. Click on the Linktree. It will take you to all of your options. And if you're interested in having as many opportunities as possible to practice these questions, there are 1,000 of them for only $35. That's the link to it is in the description below. And watch out for the next video coming up. It's going to be all about the kinesiology of the muscles of the shoulders, neck, and head. And I will see you then. Toodaloo.